Communism was defeated, but Islamism was not. And we got 9/11. And from then on, Islamism rose up. I published an early warning talking about war in September, October. And the early warning, enough with this until October 7th. The ideology of Kim Jong Un is no less than the Islamists. Now that he says that South Korea is an enemy, our experience should serve as a lesson for South Korea.
Thank you so much for having us here today and making some time.
Thank you for having me.
We've been watching MEMRI a lot, and we've been referencing this your work a lot. Could you tell us a little bit about MEMRI?
When I retired, I realized that people don't know what's going on, not because they don't know secret stuff, but because they don't know open sources, what is available there for everybody. And why don't they know it? Because it's in languages that they don't speak. So this was the source of the beginning of MEMRI, namely to bridge the language gap. I gathered a group of linguists, experts, and we began translating from the media to know the present, from school books to know the future. Whatever is being taught now will emerge in the life of people in certain time, and the religious texts, in wherever religion plays a role in the life of the individual and the society, like the Arab world. So we began with the Arabic 25 years ago, and we translated from Arabic. Then we expanded to Farsi to know what's going on in Iran, then to Turkish, which is ruled by an Islamist, Erdogan, then to Urdu, which is Pakistan, Afghanistan. We have teams of workers there. And 10 years ago, we moved to translate from Russian. And in a way, we could tell about the war coming because the leader of Russia, Putin, wrote 4 months before the war a very interesting essay of 4,000 words. We translated it to the effect that there is no such thing as Ukraine, it's a fiction, and you know what can follow after such a thing. And then 5 years ago, we began translating the Chinese media.
What is the difference between the media in Arabic and media in English?
TV channel, Al Jazeera. It's the regular thing. Two faces. Jazeera in English that plays more or less BBC, something like that. And then there is the Jazeera in Arabic, a tool of the Islamist terrorist organization from the time of bin Laden, where they aired every single speech of him in full. This is not media. Media gives a few seconds, gives a summary, and that's it. No, hours and hours and hours, and repeated and repeated and repeated. This is a indoctrination and propaganda tool of the Islamists. And that's what they do everywhere. Declaration of war on Saturday morning in October 7 was done on Jazeera. At 7 in the morning, they aired a call to all the Muslims everywhere to rise up. And as a beginning, it was Muhammad Deif, the commander of the killers units, that spoke on Jazeera. And they served the Hamas all the time. But not only here, in Sudan, in Tunisia, the Taliban, they did it all for the Taliban. This is a known fact.
What is the role of Qatar?
Qatar is an entity, I call it everywhere, an entity of evil. They play the game of, like what in America you say, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. They have one face for the West and another for the Arab world. They support every single Islamist jihadist organization anywhere. Wherever there is a battle between movements in the Arab world, they are always for the Islamist one, the dangerous, the jihadi one. One mosque, big mosque of Abdul Wahab, the Wahhabism being the worst sect in Islam from the 18th century, which goes back in their ideas and religion to the 7th century, Islam, which was the worst. It's Islam of jihad that conquered from Andalusia, Spain, all the way to China. This is the kind of Islam that they cherish. Qatar supported and hosted the perpetrator of 9/11. This whole story is in the book of Richard Clarke, and he gave it in an interview to paper. Richard Clarke was advisor on countering terrorism to 2 American presidents, and he wrote about it. There was a guy, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who an Islamist who was in missions of jihad in Bosnia, and they brought him to Qatar. Who brought him? Abdullah bin Khalid, the Minister of Interior, also the same family, Al Thani. And from there, he tried to do with the sponsorship of Qatar, with the planes, with the money, with everything. He tried to kill the Pope in Manila. It didn't succeed. The bomb exploded in the hotel. He had to run away. They tried to down American planes over the Pacific, also didn't work. They succeeded with the American embassy in Mombasa. When he was in Qatar, working seemingly in the municipality, and the FBI came to arrest him, and they told the Emir, only the Emir, like confidential. Within hours, he disappeared. And this was in 96. And in 2001, he reappeared as the mastermind of 9/11.
Do they have followed a similar line with Iran? Are they the same group of...
No, they are Sunni and Iran is Shiite. However, they found a common denominator. There was a unipolar moment when the communist Soviet empire collapsed. And for 10 years, America was the one pole in the world. It lasted only 10 years. Communism was defeated, but Islamism was not. And we got 9/11. And from then on, Islamism rose up. Who identified this moment? Qatar and Iran. They realized that this is their hour. And they united to the same policy to create an Islamist pole. So there is American pole, there is Russian, there is Chinese, and there is the Islamist pole that they created together. And they collaborate, even though one is Sunni, one is Shiite. They collaborated to create a power. And if this power had been for peace, okay, but this is a power for attack, for taking over, like Iran. In Gaza, you see the collaboration of Iran and Qatar. Iran gave the weapons, the training, the know-how, and Qatar gave the billions of dollars. You cannot do only with one of the two. So there's an example how they collaborate. They share the same gas field, which is the biggest in the world, South Pars gas field. And Qatar is developing it for the benefit of both. They share it in the middle. Now, of course, the Iranians could take it over in an hour. But no, it serves them the way Qatar works. They are working together in coalition. Now, the question is, of course, you would say, so why is America holding them as a non-NATO ally? There are problems also of money. This country buys everything in the world, everything.
Literally, we saw the statistic that they were the biggest donor for the American whole universities
Of course,
of
of course,
the Ivy
billions of
Leagues.
dollars, of course. There is a story, Qatargate, the deputy head of the European Parliament is in jail. They found in her home millions of dollars cash. Politico, the magazine in America, had a big report about the brother of Mr. Biden, President Biden, that got millions from them, Jim Biden. Senator Menendez in the Senate is now defending himself in court for bribes. Our prime minister allowed Qatar to fund Hamas for a decade with billions of dollars, totally misguided. He had the thought in his head that he's buying them. This is such a nonsense that you cannot believe that you buy a psycho like Sinwar. How do you buy him? Him and he had everybody believe that we are flooding them with money and they have good life and that's what they want. And we are fine, it's okay. This is the source of October 7. The money that we allowed, the money to Hamas was totally illegal. Because according to the laws of Israel, also American or international laws, Hamas is a terrorist organization. You cannot give them money. Why was it, if you have heard about it, it was in suitcases. And there are pictures. Why? Because Bank of Israel, if this is the policy to give them money, fine, have the Bank of Israel give it. No, I mean pass it through the Bank of Israel. You cannot, because the Bank of Israel will not accept it, because the laws, Israeli and international, are against it, are not allowing it. So if they would do it, they would be thrown out of SWIFT. So they didn't do it. So Netanyahu found a bypass. The Mossad passed suitcases of money. Insane, insane. Now everything is out, but for years it went like this. And did he buy them? No. There were all the times rounds of battles. So not even for buying them was it of any worth. You don't change minds by money. You change them only when there is an ideological change. Money alone will do nothing except for raising their capabilities. This idea that economy in and of itself changes the minds of people was proven wrong in China, in Russia, everywhere. With Hamas, there was, at the time of Nixon and Kissinger, they opened to China. Clinton, they thought that once China is flooded with American money and economic change to capitalism, and communism will be destroyed, and people will endorse the Western values. None of this happened. China became capitalist, especially in the time of Deng Xiaoping, but they didn't change their values. And even if such an approach is applied with regard to North Korea, he will not change his values. He will be flooded with money, people will live, but they will be under the same ideology. Maybe they say, well, we'll not change the mind of Kim Jong Un, but the people live in a dictatorship. What can they do? And our experience should serve as a lesson for South Korea.
What do you see as a similarity between the October 7th that happened and the concern that you have with North Korea?
Let me tell you a story about myself. In 31st of August, I published an early warning talking about war in September, October. I was treated like before in a very bad way. Even my friends told me, enough with this. This is racism. Stop. To say that they want to kill us is racism. I suffered all my life, my career, because I showed in MEMRI what they are really saying, not in English, in Arabic. And people, we did school books, horrible school books. We have the school books of Qatar, horrible jihad, martyrdom, everything. And people told me, what nonsense are you dealing with? Their school books is our life. What are you dealing with? This is nonsense. What are you doing? And the early warning, enough with this. Until October 7. The ideology of Kim Jong Un is no less than the Islamists. Now that he says that South Korea is an enemy, this is one step before attack. If it's an enemy, if they are brothers, sisters, by the way, brothers and sisters, it's the supremacist idea. We are better than them, we have to help them. Now, we have to kill them. They don't listen, so let's kill them now. It's coming. It's simply coming. I hope that this interview will not be aired after, will not need to be aired after it happens, but it's coming. If people will not know what is coming, it will be horrible.
Thank you so much for making time for us and letting us hear amazing wisdom and advices.
And it's worth discussing it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.